Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We'll just give people a couple of minutes to join us to trickle in. We're very excited to have you here. Feel free to drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. And if you're currently experiencing a heat wave like we are, and your potential summer treat for the summer, what you like to have to kind of cool off in this heat. We'll give it just a few minutes. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is going to be Housing and Residence Life Move to AU webinar. We'll be getting started in just a moment and we'll do some kind of housekeeping items, but thank you so much for joining us wherever you are tuning in from. All right. People are slowly continuing to trickle in, but good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this Move to AU webinar with Housing and Residence Life. Just to kind of kick it off with some housekeeping items, we will be conducting this presentation. It is recorded, so we will be posting this afterwards in a few days. It'll be on our website and on the YouTube channel for Student Affairs, so we will have that available for anyone who isn't able to join us this evening. As we go through the presentation, if questions come to mind, please feel free to use the question and answer feature down below. We have a lovely group of people here this evening to answer all of your questions, and we will be taking kind of some more pertinent questions at the end and answering them live on the webinar, but we will be typing responses throughout. And lastly, if you do have kind of any follow-up questions, we'll kind of end the webinar with any of our contact information. So if you need to reach out to us, if you think of something later on down the line and need to kind of answer that question, we will be available to you. So just to kick it off, this is for the experience Move to AU for our incoming students. So that includes our first year, our transfer students, everyone kind of joining the AU community in the fall term. And we have a lot to get through, so we'll just go ahead and get started. We have a lot of people on this call, as you can see on your screen. These are just a handful of the people that we'll be hearing from tonight, answering your questions in the question and answer box. But this is representatives from both Housing and Residence Life, so we're really excited to have you here and kind of be able to hear directly from us what this experience is going to be for you. And just for an agenda, it's kind of broken up into 3 different parts. Before you arrive, kind of things you can do now to get ready to move to AU. Your move-in day, what that's going to look like, what all the kind of, what the time slots mean, when you arrive, what you should be doing and what you should kind of expect. And then once you actually get here, getting settled in and what that will look like once you're actually in your room and fully moved in.
Great. Yeah. So as we dive into kind of the moment that we're in right now, the before you arrive, this is really, your chance to get best prepared. Obviously, for a lot of you, this would be the first time you're moving to a college campus. And so we just want to make sure that we're putting out kind of like our expectations of you, but the absolute best way that you can make sure you step foot on this campus fully prepared and ready to take on what, the next couple of years have for you. So yeah, we can go to the next slide. So on your end, what we kind of like expect from you, or also the best way to kind of get yourself prepared. One is keeping up with the communication being sent to you. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself yet, but I'm the marketing and communications coordinator. So a lot of the communication that you've been getting about Move In has come from me and then the folks on my team as well. But it's really important that you kind of get into the habit of checking the different spaces or different areas where we send you communication. So that's going to be directly to your AU email now. It's going to be, the housing portal, which a lot of folks on this call deal with. And we do like a really good job to make sure that it's up to date with everything you need throughout the year for like various processes. We also have our website. So we are able to break up our information into places where we think it'll be most efficient to you. So whether that's, again, the AU email, the housing portal, or the website, and or our social media, we want to make sure that you're able to find that information wherever you need it. And then we also just want to make sure that talking about communication, we also want to make sure that you know the ways you can communicate with us, which those will come later in the slide, but we never want you to sit with a question or, not have an idea. The information is out there and it's just really a click away. Following up on the communication is also going to be our virtual tours, how you can best envision your space if you're not able to come see your room in person, like through our campus tour folks. But the virtual tours are going to be your absolute best bet to really get an idea of what that space looks like, because it's truly a like a virtual, like visual capturization of the room itself. And then as far as packing, of course, we have our packing list on our website. There's a PDF, it's updated, it's with all the things that we allow and do not allow in our rooms. And we have our cheeky little saying of when in doubt, leave it out, because as you kind of figure out once you get here, the rooms are spacious, but they are not super spacious. So you don't want to bring a bunch of things you don't need. And then in that same vein, we also encourage that you talk to your roommate and kind of figure out who's bringing what. Like I just said, the rooms are spacious, but they're not spacious enough for 2 micro fridges. So obviously you want to kind of understand who's going to do what and make sure that you kind of have that balance in your room. And then as far as the extras, these are things that you can purchase for your space, starting with My Fridge, which is our third-party vendor that we work with. They're actually running a sale right now for their combination microwave and fridge. So I would say get on that. I'm forgetting the exact amount that you get off, but it's a pretty decent deal. So I would say get on that as soon as possible. We also have bed lofts, which is, kind of 2 bed frames stacked on top of each other very securely. It offers more space on top or under your bed. And then we also have XL mattresses for those who qualify. And we just ask that you have like proper documentation of your height. Next slide. And then on our end, things that we're doing, of course, we're kind of working on that room readiness. So that's the facilities teams and also housekeeping, going through the halls and making sure that the rooms and all of the hall amenities and basically everywhere on campus is set up in its best possible kind of look and feel for you to be able to feel welcome on campus. We're also organizing all the room upgrades that I just talked about, provided that all deadlines are met. You'll be able to come into your space with either that bed loft that you purchased, that XL mattress, or that My Fridge that you purchased. And then kind of what we're doing internally, of course, we're not just kind of like twiddling our thumbs. We're doing a lot of training to make sure that we're well equipped to handle everyone coming to campus at the same time. So we have our Res Life folks training, the CDs are our community directors. They are master level professionals that live in the halls with the students. So they're about to start their training. We're also going through training with our student staff to make sure that not only on that first day when they welcome you, are they like, able to be a resource and being happy, but they're able to help you throughout the entire year. And then internally, we're working as Housing and Residence Life and also with several campus partners to make sure that across the entire campus that we are equipped to make sure that when you move in, when you get here on that fateful day, that you feel welcome and you feel excited to be here.
One other thing that you can kind of start thinking about before you get here is what you're going to need before you actually get to campus. And those are our cart and hang tags. So all of our students will be receiving a car hang tag to display in your window of your vehicle. That's primarily to assist our volunteers and our AU Police Department guide you to where you need to go to actually unload your items and deliver to the correct residence hall. It will also include your arrival gate, the residence hall, and important parking instructions. It'll look something like this. So be on the lookout in your AU housing portal. We'll also send out plenty of emails to remind you to print this out before you get to campus. And then additionally, we will have students need to bring their cart hang tags, which is to actually label the individual moving carts with your items. So we recommend bringing more than one. It comes in kind of a set of 4s, but if you think you need, 8 or 12, we recommend printing those out and cutting them up before you get to campus. We don't want your items to end up in someone else's room because they aren't labeled, and it just really is to help us ensure that all of our moving volunteers and all of our staff can make sure that your items are getting to the destination that they should be going to.
Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about the day itself and what that's going to look like. So Kaylee just mentioned, again, the move-in car tags and everything that you can now view on your student housing portal, that your student can view on their housing portal. We want to kind of walk through what the schedule looks like in terms of what your entry to campus will be ahead of your orientation programming, which for most folks will start on Tuesday or Monday evening. Some of our folks, as we go through the next portion of like the calendar, we have some groups that will arrive a little bit earlier. So we'll kind of walk you through that. But the thing that I'll always note to folks, it's a lot of information up front. Most of what you need to know in terms of your move-in time slot, the cart tags that Kaylee just mentioned, all of those things are going to exist on the student housing portal. So when you log in, you'll be able to see some of these things and basically ask us questions if something isn't working, if you're trying to move your move-in day, if you're particular about a Sunday or a Monday. We'll talk through kind of what those deadlines are on the next slide. But generally speaking, we want to make sure that your approach to move-in day is that it's really meant to be a time for you to meet new folks on campus, spend time with family and friends, and we want to make sure that the actual move-in part of it is as seamless as possible. So we'll talk a lot about, again, those cart tags, getting your things into your room and making that as seamless as possible so that you can really go ahead and get parked and then get over to Mary Graydon Center, where we'll have a lot of events and resources for students to be able to pick up your one card ID. So we'll go through a lot of that, but the move-in day, again, remember that it's really for you to be welcome to campus, and we really want to make sure that it is as seamless as possible as much as we can. So the next slide is our calendar, and a couple of things that I'll just call out with this calendar. For most first year and new transfer students, Sunday and Monday, the 18th and 19th, are going to be your main move-in days. And students, if you haven't already, go ahead over to your student housing portal to see which time slot you've been assigned. Because we're doing so much that is assisted on the 18th and 19th, you're going to see a pretty particular time slot, which generally they're 20-minute increments. We ask that you try and get to campus as close to that time slot as possible to just help us make sure that we're progressing through our long line of cars as much as is possible. And as I say, on the 18th and 19th, the majority of our first year and transfer students who are not involved in the Venture to Volunteer group or are not moving in early as part of Black Affinity housing, and then anyone who has an approved early move-in ahead of 18th and 19th, I'll talk about that in a second. Those 2 days are going to be the big days for assisted move-in when everybody's kind of coming to campus. So to go backwards for a second, on Saturday the 17th, those folks who have already been kind of pre-approved for an early move-in time slot, Saturday is an unassisted day for some folks who have additional programming that begins ahead of the larger orientation for Welcome to AU and Welcome Week and all those events that are happening. So I just mentioned a couple of those groups. You see them on the Saturday block, Venture to Volunteer and Black Affinity Housing. And then you'll see their approved early arrivals, which is really, we hold some spots, they are limited, but we hold some spots for first year students who are not in one of those particular groups, who for whatever reason can't make it to campus on an assigned move-in time slot on the 18th and 19th. And we have a form basically on our webpage and through the student housing portal if you do need to come early, where you can go and head over and kind of let us know what you got going on so that we can see if we have a spot for you on the 17th on Saturday. The big difference about Saturday is that it's not an assisted process. So it's a lot of, we'll have volunteers and folks welcoming people, but a lot lot of the programming is selected for those particular groups to begin a little bit earlier. And then by the time we get to the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, you'll of course see that you're going to be joined by our returning Eagles to campus. So our sophomores will be moving in on Tuesday and Wednesday and throughout the week. Our upper division students, juniors and seniors and beyond, they're going to be Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend. But you'll notice the Claude graphic there. That is when the bulk of the orientation programming is occurring. So by the time we get to the morning of Tuesday, every new first-year student is moved in, new transfer students are moved in, and we're headed straight into orientation programming with our new student family programs and the larger orientation on campus. So that's when you'll be spending a lot of time moving through campus, going to a lot of different events, participating in welcome events, and then doing some programmatic things if you're in a living learning community or if you're in Venture to Volunteer, Black Affinity Housing, some different things that'll happen throughout the week. And then by the time we get to the 26th, again, that's the first day of classes. So we're right up against the first day, which I know is for students probably the biggest thing that's on your mind. But we want to make sure that we get you to campus successfully. You can say your goodbyes, have it be like a super fun day, and then move into some orientation programming, again, just for first-year students to be on campus and new transfer students to be on campus for the first time and be introduced to some resources throughout that week.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to talk briefly for the next 2 slides about parking and how to get into campus. So the most important piece that I just want everybody to know, so no one worries, is that from the time you get onto campus, there will literally be people directing you, volunteers, AUPD, staff members, directing you from the time you enter our main gate all the way until the time that you go to park. So never fear, we have you from the time that you enter campus, literally until you park your car. I just want to talk about those 2, the 18th and 19th, and specifically on the next slide, you're going to be able to see that I'll kind of give you a top to bottom down view of our campus. So if you are living on the north side, which includes McDowell and Hughes, thank you. You can see where the clicker is. You would follow the blue arrows, turn into campus, and then you're immediately turning right and kind of going down and back around. In order to park, if you see the little red areas, they will direct you to where you're going to be parking at. Obviously, we're asking that nobody strays away from that route and that you're following directions of our volunteers and our staff members, because it is going to be very busy and we can't afford to have people parking in individualized spots on that day. So please note that. If you live in the south side, that's Anderson, Letts, and Centennial. Kind of the same thing. If you see the yellow arrows, you're going to come in, make that right into campus, except you're going to go all the way down. You're going to make another right and come around to the back of Letts Hall. That's where our staff will meet you, unload the car, and then you will be able to go off and park in either the Bender Arena or further on down into the Katzen parking garage. Again, same thing on both days, just following the instructions of the staff and making sure that you are immediately moving the car to where that location needs to go. For those people that are coming in on the 17th, I know that we mentioned that date. That is the early move-in date. I want you all to please pay attention to your portal, because you will be receiving an individualized instructions on how you're going to get in and where you're going to be parking at on that day, because it does differ from these 2 maps that you're seeing. So just as a note, before I hand it over, is that if you are moving in for some reason on the 17th, and that's that early approved day, that we would let you know in advance. If you had that, athletic teams are a part of that, some other groups as well, making sure that you are checking your portal, because we're going to be having specialized instructions for you all specifically on how you're going to access campus and where you're going to park at. Thank you. Sorry. This is the slide regarding moving you in. So we talked about parking. We've talked about what you're going to do kind of after you get here. We talked about the assisted move-in. It's kind of like a full red carpet experience. So when you get there, just so you can envision what's going to happen, when you pull your car up, we will have staff there. That's where your labels come in at, obviously, so that your stuff is labeled and we understand where we're going to be taking your items to, but we will be fully assisting you from the time your car pulls up until the time that we kind of pull your car away and go park you. So that's where those cart tags that we mentioned on previous slides are going to come in handy. And that's what we talked about, the Bender Arena or the Caxton garages, where obviously your parent would go, or your guardian, or whoever is obviously bringing you to campus would go to be able to park their vehicles. So just make sure you're following the instruction of the move-in volunteers in the loading zones, but just understand that is a fully assisted day. So never fear, we will be there from the time that your car pulls up until the time we pull it into the garage.
While our lovely staff of volunteers and loaders will start unloading the vehicle and taking the items to the room, students are encouraged to make their own way to the Mary Graydon Center and complete the check-in process. Over there, students can meet their family or guests once they park the vehicle as per the instructions provided. And as a reminder, please don't forget to bring a government issue ID for the purpose of verification. And when we talk about the Mary Graydon Center experience, we want to highlight that this is our one-stop for check-in experience. So students will complete the housing check-in process there. They will collect their one cards, U passes. They will also check in for orientation, get more details from our orientation team, and visit our campus fair while our staff is getting the rooms ready for them. It is really important, as soon as our staff starts unloading the vehicle, students to go to the Mary Graydon Center and collect the one cards. Why? Because one card actually grants the access to their room, so it will serve as a key to their residence hall room. And of course, students and their guests are also welcome to take their time, familiarize themselves with our campus while we are getting their rooms ready. And as soon as we are done, they can make their way to the residence hall. And of course, everyone probably knows that moving is always a stressful time. And you're probably already asking yourself who is going to be there to help you. And of course, if you just have a look at the next slide, you will see that we have plenty of staff around, that we will be here around you to help you. No matter if you arrive by yourself or your family and friends will come with you, we want you to know that there will be a lot of people here to help. So we will have our whole Housing and Residence Life team around. All these people on the call, including our community directors, resident assistants in each residence hall. We will also have plenty of moving volunteers, loaders, AUPD, this is our police department on campus, helping with some traffic directions and parking instructions, and of course, the Mary Graydon Center staff who will walk you through the check-in process. So it is really important for you to connect with us, and as soon as you arrive, and also stay connected with us throughout your residential experience as well. Once your staff is already in the room and to get there, it is time to start getting settled in. So if you want to go to the next one.
And I am here to talk about getting settled in. So once you arrive, once you've done all the things these lovely folks have said, you will have ample time to get settled into your space. Obviously unpacking, obviously keeping the things that shouldn't be in the room away from the room, but making your space your home is your priority, and our priority that your space feels like home. How do we do that? Through our room inventory form or RIF. So that lets us know if there's anything damaged in your room, if there's anything that we need to take a look at. Sheldon and his team will do that. Once you submit that RIF, it's really, really important that you do that as soon as you have time in the room. You don't have to go directly to the room and do it right away, but we do recommend once you get into the space, go ahead and complete the RIF, because again, that lets us know what's damaged in your space prior to your arrival. Sheldon and our facilities team will do a really good job of making sure that nothing is damaged or broken, but sometimes things are missed or sometimes things happen. So if there's a hole in the wall, you want to put that on the RIF, so that when you move out at the end of the year in May, we know that there was a hole in your wall in August and we don't charge you for that. If that hole is noted on the RIF in May, if that hole is noted on the room or on the RIF in May and that wasn't noted in August, then it's kind of hard for us to pinpoint where that came from. So again, if you heard me say nothing else because it was jumbled, remember to complete your RIF as soon as you get into your space. Our team will also have mandatory floor meetings. These are required for all students that live on campus. So if you read optional when it says required, just know that you have to go. This is where you get information about what's happening on campus, where you get information about our policies and expectations for living in community with other students. And you'll see signs posted all throughout the building. You can talk to any of our staff who will either be in their name tags or polos or AU gear. They'll let you know exactly when those floor meetings are. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so if you need more information from us, so this wasn't enough for you, or you want to stay connected with us and learn about what's happening, you'll see some information here on this slide that provides just general information for you. So when do the meal plans start, for example, because I'll be very hungry once I move in. That's going to be August 17th with the first meal being lunchtime. So our eateries on campus, including our dining hall, will be open and available to students on the 17th at lunchtime. If parent and family members would like to go with their student to eat at the eateries or the dining hall, they're able to do so as well. They will just pay a fee for that. Package accepted starts August 14th. So please pay very close attention to this. August 14th is when package acceptance starts. So if you send a package on the 1st, your student is not keyed into the system, so the package will be returned. So if you're being very thoughtful in ordering items, or you're being very thoughtful and considerate to get things to your student, make sure that happens beginning August 14th so that it's here for you when you arrive and it wasn't returned to the sender. We do see this happen very often where folks send things, they either sent them before the acceptance date or they sent them with the wrong information on it. But please make sure you send that beginning August 14th and then satellite mail August 17th through the 25th. All American welcome activities. So this is when our students will really have an opportunity to connect with other students, really get involved on campus, typically our first week of school, or there'll also be activities leading up to that during orientation. So we'll have an outdoor movie night, a late night breakfast, late night at the rec, taste of home block party as well. These are just some signature events that will happen from the Center for Student Involvement, again, to get students to start connecting with one another and build that community amongst themselves. Our residence life staff will also have programming that will happen, that'll happen directly in your building, directly on your floor, or even outside of your residence hall areas. Lastly, new student orientation. The program will be Tuesday through Friday. So that I answered this question earlier in the chat, but programming will happen during the day with kind of educational programming. So think of that as like what the student needs to know to be successful at AU academically. Into the evening will be social programming, and the social programming is typically optional, although we strongly encourage students to go to that. So that might be things like a silent disco, that might be things like another movie night that's outside, or just a game night or something to that effect. Those are typically going to happen in the evening. So again, during the day, academic program, in the evening time, optional programming. For parent and family members, the programming options for you all is limited. There are some options, but that week is really built for the student to connect with other students. And so we want to start to build that community with them. So that's why it's intentionally done. It's not because we don't care about parent and family members. We have Parent and Family Weekend where we will celebrate you all that entire weekend. But this new student orientation experience is really designed specifically for the student to connect with the campus, to understand all the things they need to know so that their first day of school can really be the best that it can be. And then, of course, we'll take the class photo with convocation. So convocation will occur, and then the students will take the class photo right before in the AU letters, and they'll get a t-shirt for that as well. Next slide, please. So staying connected with us. So again, you need to know more information. We weren't good enough, except we'll still be the people answering the questions when you send in the communication. You can email us at housing@american.edu. You can call us by phone at 202-885-3370. Our live chat option exists from Monday through Friday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Follow us on social media. Shamira does a great job with our social media. On Instagram, you can find us at the handles home@AU or AU Black Affinity Housing. And then for those that still use Facebook and those that celebrate Facebook still, that's AUHRL. Next slide, please. And so what we will do now is we will answer some questions live that are in the chat. Kaylee, I'll turn it over to you. I don't know how you want this to work exactly, but our panelists here will happily answer questions live as they exist.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I know we've been frantically doing chats, but just some kind of questions that I saw come up common in the chat that I think would be helpful. First, to start off, maybe either Sheldon or Mason, if a student is coming via rideshare, can you talk through the process of what that would look like for them if they arrive on the 18th or 19th?
Yeah, so generally speaking, what will happen is there will be a designated area, and we'll communicate this out on the student housing portal as well, once we know for sure which area it's going to be. But depending on whether or not you're on the north side of campus in Roper Hall, Latz, Anderson, Centennial Halls, sorry, that's south side, or north side, Hughes, McDowell, you'll be directed to a particular gate, and basically there will be a separate drop-off area that kind of takes you outside of the long line of cars so that you can just do a quick drop-off. You don't have an Uber or a Lyft driver waiting long-term to get you out of the car and basically unload suitcases and get as close to the residence halls as you can, rather than staying in a long line of cars to be unpacked. And again, the student housing portal is where some of that stuff is going to be, and you'll just want to be looking for the rideshare directions for which gate you're going to be going to, depending on whether or not you're in one of the north side or the south side halls that I just mentioned, Sheldon just mentioned on the roadmap. So it's a pretty simple process, and it should be pretty seamless. Again, you may be waiting for 10 minutes or so just to get in exactly where you need to go, but at that point we'll have a turn off for drivers to kind of leave and exit without waiting in line.
I know there was a lot of questions about the cart tags, car and cart tags. We'll have all the materials available for the cart tags, so no need to bring anything to attach them to said carts, just bring the papers themselves. And as for the car tags, there'll only be one version available to you on your housing portal. However, if you're coming with multiple vehicles, or I know families have multiple students moving in, you would just print out as many as you would need for those vehicles. I will say verbally out loud, we do recommend not bringing like box trucks or large trailers at the end, just because of our campus is very compact and it's just hard to navigate the roads. But we do, so if you need multiple cars, absolutely fine. We just avoid box trucks if you are able to do that. Some questions, a lot of questions about like parents, when they should leave, when we recommend that they should depart campus. Any insight from the group here?
Yeah, I can start. I think to underscore the previously stated, the time that's spent during move-in and orientation experience is really designed for the student. We know that and understand that this is the first time that they're experiencing the American University landscape. This is the first time that they're experiencing American University other students, being in community with other students. So the time is intentionally designed for the student to acquiesce or assimilate to the environment that they're in, both getting to know people as well as getting to know what the campus geography and landscape looks like. There will be very limited time for parents. Again, that is in no way designed because we don't like parents and we don't love parents. It is just designed for the student to build that kind of disconnector organically or naturally between, like, I'm always with my family members, they're always helping me, because if parents are leaving, parent and family members are leaving, the student is here by themselves. So if the student has a challenge in the residence hall, if the student has a challenge in the Mary Graydon Center or our student union area, the student themselves is going to be the one that needs to seek out that support. And so we build that support structure in by allowing the student to kind of navigate themselves through the landscape. What we've seen happen is parents have gone to dinners with their student, parents have gone to dinners with other family members that they meet up and connect with. So they kind of have some organic programming that they design themselves. There is a parent orientation that happens and some other things that are for parents, but there isn't, unfortunately, a robust schedule of parent and family orientation related activities. We do reserve that time specifically for parent and family weekend that happens later on, but sort of in the beginning of the semester as well.
Another common question, students that may be participating in Venture to Volunteer or in Black Affinity Housing and moving in on the 17th, can you just kind of elaborate how their experience for move-in may be different than what we presented here?
So I think the biggest thing to note about the 17th is that when we say unassisted, what we mean is you won't have teams of volunteers and unloaders kind of swarming your car, unloading things, taking it to your room for you. What we will have are people welcoming you, getting you where you need to go, getting you close to your residence hall building, and then some folks to help you manage. We'll have carts available for you to bring your things up into the halls and to do that kind of moving of your stuff yourself. So we'll still have resources, we'll still have volunteers available to help. It just won't be a full line of cars kind of like concierge going through campus and getting their stuff picked up by large groups. The other big difference, I think, for people to note, if you're really thinking through kind of how we've sketched out the days of the Sunday and Monday, the assisted move-in days. The other thing that will happen is before you're actually going to your room space, room access is something, and getting your one card is something that we want you to do earlier in the process. So rather than just going straight to your room, we'll have specific instructions for like, hey, go park, get your one card, and then let's get you to your building so that you can actually key into your room and get your stuff unloaded. I would say those are the two big things. But some of the similarities are that we're still going to have a very robust presence on campus. We will have groups and different student volunteers kind of welcoming folks. And again, for those groups who are coming early because they're part of programming, Venture to Volunteer, Black Affinity Housing, there will be some programming that also kicks off on those days. But what I tell folks is if there's not a particular reason, whether you're involved in one of those programs I mentioned and have already been slotted into a 17th Saturday move-in time slot, or if you don't have a particular reason for which Sunday or Monday doesn't work for you, the assisted is really a nice way to like get the moving out of the way and get the actual like schlepping of stuff up into the halls done more quickly. And for it to be a way for you to really go park your car and like enjoy programming quickly. For unassisted on Saturday, there's going to be a little bit more of a slower roll to that day. But we'll still have people in Mary Graydon Center. You'll still be welcomed. You'll still get your AUID, your UPass for using the metro and the buses and all those things. So some similarities there, but those would be the two differences I would call out. I don't know if anybody else has other things they want to mention, but those are probably the broad strokes.
One note for Black Affinity Housing, there is a dinner that same evening. Our community director for Belonging and Basic Needs, Shai Prentice, will communicate with families living in Black Affinity Housing regarding the welcome dinner that happens. And you'll get a flyer for it as well during the move-in day. So if you need more information about that in the interim until you receive communication from Shai, you can reach out to myself or Nick Jones, who's assisting in the chat currently, but we'll get you that information. But there is a dinner. I believe it starts at 7 p.m. On the 17th.
Lots of questions about the one card. Can anyone talk about the importance of your one card and how it relates to your residence hall?
I can. So one cards are very important. They're just like, I'd say as important as like a state ID or a credit card, something like that. You want to make sure that you keep it on, your person. It's how you get into your room, how you get into certain buildings, including your residence hall. Some academic buildings require their one card. Access to dining is on your one card. Access to how you may do laundry could be on your one card. How you use a vending machine could be on your one card. It's very important that you have it because it really gets you all kinds of places and allows you to participate in different things on campus. However, things happen. Students lose them, break them, and we do have temporary cards available to give you access to your room in the event that that card does break. But we do recommend getting familiar with the One Card office. They're very helpful over there. And if you do need to receive a new one, they will be able to help you out.
And stop the share so everything moved around. And just in terms of, we talked about some programming for obviously orientation and welcome week, just to kind of differentiate orientation programming, which is during the daytime and is that educational program that Sean mentioned, is what is required of students. Anything in the evening or kind of on that Saturday or, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, those are optional things. So kind of the late night, the breakfast, the late night, the rec, movie nights, things like that. Those are just optional. There's also a ton of organizations on campus that typically host events throughout the week that isn't a part of the official welcome week programming, but if you're interested in events on campus, there's a great app called Engage that everyone posts all their events on. So if you're interested in kind of finding a community or finding, things that interest you, the Engage is a great way to kind of learn about those kind of optional events. But during the daytime, Tuesday through Friday, it'll be mostly filled with that kind of orientation programming that's required for students. Okay. I saw a couple questions about room assignments and roommates. Desi, do you want to kind of speak to how people can find out about their assignment and their roommate.
So everyone should have received already their email notification about the fall assignment. And once they log into the housing portal, they'll be able to see their room assignment and their roommate. I noticed some questions in the chat and my colleagues already started responding to these. What happens if they want to change roommates once they move in? We will start our open room change process the 3rd week after classes start, and students will be able to submit a request for a specific roommate. Let's say they meet someone and they want to live together. They will be able to switch spaces between different rooms, or they'll be able to apply for any open space available on campus. We process this on a weekly basis. We notify students and we provide them with further instructions how they can complete the room change.
In regards to kind of some do's and don'ts for packing, I saw some questions about lights, some questions about, you know, the size of the fridges, any kind of recommendations for what we recommend or maybe don't recommend you should leave out until you have a chance to see the space.
Yes, I'm happy to start, and I'm sure our colleagues will join. I recommend you taking a virtual tour of the space that you're going to live in. The space is not N-O-T, not as large as you imagine it to be. And so if you would like to bring your 50-inch TV from your room, for example, that will take up the bulk of one of the half of your space actually. So I just encourage folks to be very mindful or utilize the resources that we have directly on our website that will show you the exact space that you'll be living in to give you an idea. A really, really big refrigerator, for example, will take up a lot of space. And the furniture that's in your room, we do not remove. So all of the furniture that we've placed in the space, the bed, the dresser, the chair, the wardrobes, all of the university provided furniture stays exactly in that space. So you will have to arrange your space in a way that's not a fire hazard, 1, and 2, in a way that accommodates for anything you bring in. The second thing I will say is we do not allow exterior furniture. So if you have a futon that you love or a couch that you love, it will have to stay at your home. It will not be permitted into the residence halls. So our staff will stop you and have you put that back in your vehicle. So we're saying this up front to folks, particularly folks who might take an Uber and load those items into that space. We don't allow any exterior furniture. All of our furniture is rated and approved through fire marshal for use in our halls. So it's very specific very important rather, that we don't allow any exterior furniture. The second part of that is because the space is not that large. As it relates to like amenities, folks bring lights, folks bring tapestries, those type of things. Again, I would just recommend you take a tour. How much wall space do you have? How much floor space do you have in truth? And when you're living with a roommate, remember that space is cut in half. So it would be important for you to communicate in advance with your roommate regarding things that you might bring. So what we see often is 2 roommates might start connecting with each other, and they might say, I'll bring the fridge if you bring the television, just to, again, cut down on that size and bringing 2 of the same thing in a space. So that's what I would say. I don't know if anyone has anything additional to add.
I would just reiterate, less is more, like, is the big thing. I think whatever we see this with first year students all the time, there's always stuff going back with folks during winter break. So no matter whether you're studying abroad or not in the second semester, we always have folks who are like, you know what, I brought too much stuff. So what Sean mentions with the virtual tours is actually super, super helpful. We also have a what not to bring and what to bring, again, the packing list. We had some questions about electric tea kettles and some really specific stuff, air fryers. There's a really good list to go through what of those things can actually be in your residence hall. Again, Sean mentioned the furniture being commercial grade, fire rated. It's a similar standard for any kind of appliances that you would have in your room. You definitely want to make sure that you read that list if you're interested in bringing something. Again, generally speaking, and I say generally because the specifics are on our website, but everything has to have an automatic shut off feature, which is really important. and be a fully closed heating implement, for example. So if you've looked at a MyFridge rental, you'll know that we actually require you, if you're interested in bringing a microwave, you don't have to, they're in the lounges. We'll get to the lounges in a second. But if you want one in your room, we actually recommend that, not recommend, we require that those microwaves are rented through the MyFridge company so that we can make sure that they're the exact model that actually works with the fridge and is fully enclosed. So just keep that in mind. Those lists are online, but again, a good rule of thumb is whatever you are thinking you need slightly less or very much less than that amount of stuff. I know, Sheldon, you were going to unmute and say something.
No, I think between you and John, you covered it, and then Shamira and myself both put the what to pack list in the chat, so if everybody can refer to the chat, it's there. What not to pack: please do not bring any refrigerators that are over 4.5 cubic feet. Those are very large. We cannot accommodate that. So just keep that in mind. I think that I also linked in one of the questions the website for MicroFridge so that you are all aware of that. That process is coordinated by my area, and it is $230 for the full school year. So that's always a good option to use. And it is very much easy because they drop it off and they pick it up. I will continue to respond to questions in the chat, though.
And I know I mentioned very briefly just lounges because we had a couple questions, Kaylee, about what's in those. So every single residence hall is going to have on every floor, sometimes 2 per floor, some either study space or lounge space, which will have kitchenette. We don't provide a shared use refrigerator, so that's why the MyFridges are so popular. Again, the smaller sizes are better for having in your room. We don't supply pots and pans, but we do supply the ability to cook in the residence halls if you want to do so. Again, the majority of our students, we find, don't really start cooking until midway through the semester if they want to. But again, with the meal plan, there are some great options on campus already, but there will also be a room with a TV in it if you don't necessarily want to take up room space with a very large TV screen. Maybe you do, but there are also opportunities for that in the lounges in every single residence hall. So that's pretty much standard. So just some things to think about there is that it's not just your room space. There are plenty of spaces within the residence halls for you to utilize as social spaces, as gathering spaces, community spaces. Obviously, the Res Life team will be doing programming and floor meetings and all that great stuff. A lot of that happens in the lounges, but it's also space for you to use. So don't feel like you need to pack everything that you need to live into your residence hall room. You will have the opportunity to, for example, walk down and pop something into the microwave or fire up the stove and cook something if you want to.
Sheldon, can you talk a little bit about the bed lofting and why we just don't recommend external bed lofts?
Safety is our main concern. If we install them, we are aware that they are good and they are good to go. But just so you know, the bed loft application is actually open as we speak. So if you are interested in signing up for a bed loft, run over to the portal and go ahead and sign up for a bed loft. And my staff will be able to install that based off of which date you request it. But no, we do not allow, and we understand that some people are very good at building things, but we do not allow that in our residence halls, and we will document you for that because that is a safety concern for us. So please, 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 no bed lofts outside of the ones that we provide. But again, that process is open and it's on the portal. So you can go ahead over and sign up for that now if you're interested in bed lofts. Kaylee, did I answer that question properly? Was there anything else to that? Sorry.
No,
Sheldon, can you talk about if it has to be, when you loft the bed, does it have to be a bunk bed or can it be a lofted up high bed with it underneath? That was a couple questions for folks.
I am going to defer that question to Mason because as you don't know, but I am still fairly new. So I'm still learning the policies here and want to make sure I speak correctly to all you wonderful new Eagles.
Yeah, so we, generally speaking, we don't do a lot of the bunking anymore. I think the loft is by far and away the most preferred option. Again, we do have the pins for doing the lofts and everything ourselves. So the bunk beds, I don't actually know if I've seen one in a couple years. If you want to, you can, but again, for the majority of folks, the lofting of the beds is the way to go because again, it frees up more space in the room. It basically allows for some space where you can put your desk. Again, Sean mentioned, don't think of bringing a futon per se, because again, it's not that commercial grade furniture that we have to have in the halls, but it gives you space for your desk and your shelves and some of your storage units that are provided as part of the room. And again, you'll see some of those versions on the virtual tours if you're a little bit confused about what the differences are between adjusting your bed height, lofting your bed, or bunking your bed. You can kind of go and check out what those things look like, but far and away the lofting is totally the way that people go. I haven't seen a bunk bed in a while because it doesn't save as much space.
Mason, while you're speaking, can you also talk about bed risers?
Oh, a very good question, Sean. Thank you so much for asking. So we do not, it's on our what not to bring list and it's the reason we have beds that can be changed, their height can be changed regardless of whether you've got it lofted or not. We do not want you to bring those cones, those terrible cones that you can put your bedposts on to basically raise the entire frame up. They're not safe. So when we do health and safety inspections, your RA will note it if you have them and ask you to remove them. But what I will say themselves, it's a very simple process. We have a great video to kind of show you how to do it day of with barely any tools. I think just a mallet is mostly what you need. If you want to make your bed adjusted a little bit higher or a little bit lower than what it's set at when you move in. So again, I forget exactly the dimensions of that, but it's, some difference in space, like 1.5 feet, 2 feet between the lowest and the highest setting. So it's pretty significant. So do that. Don't bring in the risers. They're not safe.
I believe one of my staff members, Dayon, is in here and can respond to some of those specific facilities questions. Dayon, if you're on, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you,
I can hear
Dayon.
you.
Yeah, students typically bunk their beds on their own. It's rare, but you can bunk them. As far as lofts, we suggest that you keep the lofts when you do loft your beds, keep it on the 4th or 3rd notch, because if you put it on the highest notch, that's like a safety hazard because you don't want to like bump your head on the ceiling and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it on lofts.
Thanks, Dayon.
Can someone speak to kind of the guest policy during our move-in time?
I can do that. Guest policy during move-in time is different than guest policy during academic year. Academic year being basically August 26th is when our guest policy will resume in terms of its normal operation. So for move-in, our guest policy is what's referred to as relaxed, meaning if Kaylee's entire family comes to move Kaylee in, all 41 of them are able to go and assist Kaylee with the move-in experience. Beginning August 26th, however, our guest policy will go into effect and folks will need to sign in with the student that they're coming to see, and the student that they're coming to see will need to come to the front desk. So if everyone wants to see the room that Kaylee's going to live in for her first year in college during move-in specifically, they're definitely able to do that. We will not ask kind of folks to sign in during that time just to keep the traffic flow flowing and make sure it's a good experience for folks. But again, once we get into the fall semester, or you're coming back to see your student in September, for example, to drop off groceries or make sure they're going to classes, you would need to sign in and the student would need to meet you downstairs at that time.
I know there's been a lot of questions about like dates and timelines and things like that. So I just want to plug on our website. The housing page has a list of important dates and things coming up for the fall semester that will kind of keep things up to date. And then there's also a university-wide calendar that we recommend people look at. It's really helpful if you're looking to try to find when Parents Weekend might be, and then they'll be able to connect you out to resources. Yes, Sean.
Yes, I was just going to ask my colleagues Nick or Chris if they can talk about what the role of the community director is and the resident assistant or the desk assistant even, Anthony, if you care to share, just so that folks know kind of the supports that are in place in the community and who you'll see kind of on hand, if you want to share what your roles are as well.
Sure, I can go first. I'll talk about our residential desks. So every building has a desk right by the front door, and they are either staffed by students during the day. Both of our resident assistants and desk assistants will be staffing those throughout the week and weekends. Overnight, we do have, most buildings will have a contracted security officer that will be seated at the desk from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And the main role of these desks, well, several main roles. One is to monitor our what we call a swipe and show system. So as students scan their cards at the front doors, their picture will appear on the computer screen with a green banner around it if they live there, with other different colors depending on if they live there or not, if they're a student or not. And so they will be monitored in that way. Also, the desks are where your student can pick up your mail keys for students to receive paper mail at the building that they live in. There also is additional spaces that residence halls have that may be locked, and so they could check out keys for that. They'll sign in their guests at the desk. They'll sometimes, if a student arrives outside of main like daytime hours, they may be checked in at the desk through our system there. The students who staff the desk can be federal work study, could be not work study throughout the year. We do have like a recruitment season twice a year for the desk assistants. So the desk tends to be a one-stop shop for a lot of things you would need in your residence hall. And also it is the face to greet you when you enter.
Thank you, Anthony. For our resident assistants are RAs, as you might see online, or you might hear us say, are our peer leaders, our student leaders that live in the residence halls. They're usually second, third, or fourth year students that are there to provide support for your resident or for your student as they, navigate college to kind of build this kind of co-curricular kind of experience and create opportunities for your students to learn outside of the classroom. And so that might look like building connections on the floor. That might look like helping them build connections on campus, developing soft skills and leadership skills in the residence hall. But that might also look like helping them navigate conflict, helping them find support in terms of advocating for themselves, and helping them look for opportunities and resources on campus that help them build that kind of resilience to maybe overcome that barrier in the future. It could look like any number of those things. And so we train them really well. The RA position is a really great position if your student is also interested in looking for leadership opportunities. But yeah, that's the RA position in a nutshell. Our community directors are master's level professionals that also live in the residence halls that lead the community director team. And so, or that lead the RA team, I'm sorry. And so the community directors will provide that higher level support for students that are that truly may be going through a significant struggle, may want a more private kind of conversation in that sense, but then also lead in the same sense those opportunities for leadership, for skill development, for connections in the residence hall that look more global in the sense of the entire residence hall, not just an individual floor. The community directors, we have about 9 of them. They're a really great team. We would also encourage your student to get to know them, to reach out to them. They don't need to just reach out to us when they're struggling.
Sean, is your hand raised for another question, or do you?
No, but sorry, I didn't put it down, but I do have one. Shamir, can you talk a little bit about how to stay connected on socials, what folks can look forward to, how they can use our social media to assist? And I will lower my hand this time, Kaylee.
I would love to talk about that. Yeah, so our social media, so we're currently active on Instagram, and as Sean said, for those who still celebrate Facebook, the accounts are connected. Basically, if you just follow us on there, try to stay updated, maybe turn on our post notifications, you can kind of see things that are going on in the halls. The social media is really used to kind of highlight that residential experience, but every now and again, I will put pertinent information on there. We have like a link tree, which is like a thing that hosts all of our important links. So if you're ever wondering what processes are going on at the time, I'll usually link those web pages. I would say in addition to social media, We also do like updates on the website, but that's not really the fun stuff. I'm actually gonna go back to social media because I will say that during the year, one of my favorite things in the fall semester is to do the Best Nest contest, which any pictures that you've seen of the residence halls on campus that have been well decorated have been a part of that contest, and it's really fun. And you would only know about that contest if you were following us on Instagram. So please, please, please be sure to follow us. I have the Instagram app on my phone, and I get so giddy when I see a flood of followers come through. I'm looking at my phone right now to make sure y'all are following, but Home at AU is our Instagram. And again, for those who still champion Facebook, it is AUHRO. Back to you.
Okay. I know we're coming up on time. If anyone has any kind of specific questions they would like to ask out loud, we will now take some hand raised questions. If I can figure out how to let them do it.
Yolanda, I think you're unmuted. You can go ahead and ask us your question.
Okay, if you answered, I missed it. I was writing stuff down, but I wanted to know if your child is in the Cornerstone and they're going overseas in the fall, will they return, when they return to the US, will they return to the same room that they had before they left?
So if your student is not going to be
I'm
joining
sorry,
us,
not in the fall, in the spring.
Okay, so they're going to be with us in the fall and they're leaving to go abroad in the spring.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So while they're abroad, they will have the opportunity to apply for housing for the following year. They won't come back to their same residential space, but they'll be able to go through the full room selection process. Obviously, they'll be a sophomore at that point or whatever classification the next year, and they'd be able to select from the residence halls available to them then.
Okay, because they come back before the semester is over in the spring, correct?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
depending on
But
the
they can just
program,
leave their
but
stuff in that room.
no, so when you
Yeah.
leave for the fall semester and you go abroad, you should take all of your stuff with you in December.
Okay. Okay.
But Yolanda, if you're saying they're leaving for like a spring break trip, and they're
No,
coming,
for the Cornerstone, you know how they have to leave? I think it's in January to go to Greece. And so while they're gone, I thought they come back in April before the semester is over. So I was asking, would they come back to the same dorm room that they had in the fall? But
Yeah,
it sounds like,
so if they're coming back at any point before their housing contract is over, they have their room. But if the program you're talking about, they wouldn't be returning before the housing contract is over.
oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Jacqueline, you should be able to go and unmute. You're still there. It will go to Abigail. You should be able to unmute now to ask your question. No? Okay.
Kaylee, I think Jacqueline is unmuted.
Jacqueline, what questions can we answer for you?
Oh, no, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm
great.
sorry. It's been a
No.
really long time since I've done Zoom, and all these things at the bottom are confusing me.
Happy to happy to
Sorry.
hear from you, Jacqueline.
No worries.
Hope you're doing well.
Awesome. Manar. Should be.
Right. What about bathrooms in the shower? Are the bathrooms gonna be in the room? Or is there just like a separate place for just like showers? I just want to know about that.
Sure. So bathrooms, depending on where you are in different locations. If you're living in Centennial, the restrooms are located in the suite. It's in the center between two rooms, shared by folks that live in either space. If you're living in Anderson or other places. The restrooms are going to be what's referred to as a common area restroom. So it'll be you walk down the hallway from your room, you'll walk into the restroom area, you'll have 5 toilets, 5 sinks, 5 showers on one side, and then you'll have the same experience on the other.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there other questions we can answer from folks? Oh, 1203. Do you have a question? And then the rest of your number.
Oh, hello. My name is Marcy. My son is starting in the fall. Quick question about orientation. If our child is moving in on Sunday and we do the parent orientation Sunday afternoon, can we still be around on Monday to help them, get groceries or do other things and keep setting up their room? Because orientation doesn't start till Tuesday, right?
Yeah, so you're able to be around that whole week if you want to. Totally your choice. As well, totally you and your students' choice, because they probably wouldn't want you around all the time.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, but you're definitely able to help assist with groceries. We have a few locations right up the street in the Tillingtown area for groceries. Or if you want to sightsee or see the area, become familiar with campus, you're able to stay as long as you're comfortable.
So would you suggest if you move your kid in on Sunday and you go to orientation that evening, would you suggest like head home Monday at the end of the day kind of thing, since orientation is starting on Tuesday, like don't hang around too long?
I would just say that once orientation programming kind of kicks off in full, and again, keep in mind what program your student is participating in. Again, if they're in some of the groups that we mentioned, some of their programming will start a little bit earlier, but by the time they get to Tuesday, it's pretty robustly programmed. I know we had some questions in the chat about the schedule, which the orientation folks will share out kind of as we get closer to the dates themselves. But by the time you get to Tuesday, your student's going to be pretty robustly programmed, I would say. And so even though there's some time, before and at the end, it's gonna feel like they're doing their kind of welcome to AU stuff. So that's just a suggestion, but we do have some folks that stick around that want to do some sightseeing and stuff. Your student will just be programmed kind of depending on what they're doing throughout the day, pretty much that entire week. And then, like I said, we're right into the weekend and then classes.
Does that include University College as one of those groups? Or that doesn't really start early, right?
It doesn't really start early, so it's a good question. And just to distinguish quickly, University College is probably our largest for first year living learning community. So again, there will be certain components for them, but that mirrors up with the program and that they're a part of. It's just they're going to be in different cohort groups, kind of on the same schedule as normal.
Okay, thank you.
Person who is a phone number, do you have a question for us? The phone number begins in 1203. All right. Are there any other questions that we can answer? We see folks in the chat, but we're also able to unmute folks and answer any questions for folks.
All right. Paul, you got the floor.
Can you just clarify, I know you mentioned about picking up packages. So if you pick up packages after your drop-off time, like in the morning, my time is 8:20, and then I need to go get all these Amazon packages and bring them to the dorm. What is the process for this? Or I go shopping and I have a full car of stuff. How do we drop that stuff off?
Sure. So on your move-in day, if you're bringing items with you, we'll unload that directly into the cart. That stuff will be taken upstairs. If you're going to pick up a package that you shipped on the 17th to the room, we'll direct you to the package areas to pick up that package. If you need assistance, say you shipped a refrigerator, you would want to take one of our bins over to assist. And bins is something that we probably should cover last minute just to make sure that everyone knows we don't have a lot of those. But take a bin over, grab the items that you shipped, and bring those back to the room with you. from that point forward, if it's during the move-in experience, it will be difficult. For example, if you're driving out of campus to go and get groceries to come back because other folks will be moving in. So I would say plan ahead to kind of plan ahead as best you can, right? Because that's real. To go and get groceries. Again, we have a lot of locations directly on Tinleytown where folks can shop. There's a Target right there, a Whole Foods, and some other locations where folks can get groceries. And then if they're driving back to the campus, you would just need to find parking because your vehicle at that point is unloaded. So you would park your vehicle and bring your groceries back. Again, if you know there are a lot of groceries, we would make sure that you have a bin to be able to do so with those items. Does that answer your question?
I think you did a great job, Sean.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'll note we did have a couple questions just about the timing of everything, which again kind of gets to this point. But for the most part, when you've arrived on campus as close as possible to your move-in time slot, we generally do really well to get your car moved through the long line and unloaded fairly quickly. And what we recommend people do is when you go park, don't come back to your room for an hour or two. That gives us time to get your cart kind of loaded in and everything unpacked and kind of set in your room space for you to actually organize. But to Sean's point, you'll have plenty of time once the larger move-in operation ends. I think Kaylee will correct me if I'm wrong, but our last time slot is just before 3 p.m., I think 2:40. So usually around that time, it becomes much easier to kind of move throughout campus because the large quantity of cars are kind of gone and you're able to get back into your residence hall pretty easily. But again, if you have one of our earlier time slots and you're coming to campus right at 8:20 for our first move-in time slot on Sunday or Monday, you'll have time to go to MDC, do what you need to do, and then head over to your residence hall room after an hour or two and kind of get things set up. And then as Sean mentioned, if you want to go grab stuff, you can. Just be conscious of the fact that till around 3 or 4 p.m., we're still going to have a lot of cars on campus. It won't be as easy to move your car everywhere you might need to go, but it's not a geographically, we're not a huge campus, so it's pretty walkable. But just keep in mind if you're loading up on 2 weeks worth of groceries, which we don't necessarily recommend either, remember that you might be carrying those a little bit or grabbing a bin to come get them from your car.
Xavier, if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Hi, thank you. So I move in Sunday afternoon and my roommate comes in Monday morning. I just have a quick question about what's the timeline in which I'll need to be out the room because I just wouldn't want him or his people coming in and I'm half asleep. Like would I be able to just leave or is the team gonna already be coming towards the room in that morning when it's time for him and his stuff to come in? What would that look like for a roommate that's already in there?
So that's a great question. And this is why we recommend you connect with your roommate as soon as you know who the roommate is. But generally speaking, the folks, as you come, you'll be dropped off, your things will be taken to your room, and then you have all of the time that you need to kind of get settled. The same thing will happen with the other roommate. And so if you're asleep,
It's Sean Freeze for everyone and not just me. Great. I'll pick up on that sentence. If you're asleep, someone will be knocking on your door during their move-in time to say, hey, we're dropping off your roommate's things, basically. So it's a really good question. It helps to coordinate ahead of time. But again, you'll be very much aware, Xavier, on Monday. Again, similar timeline. We'll start around 8:20 in the morning. And if you're aware, you'll know, but if not, your roommate, the folks loading into your room will basically be knocking on doors and keying in to kind of drop off some stuff. So it's helpful to know, especially if you want to sleep in till 10 a.m. or something and your roommate has a very early time slot, just keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering, so my roommate and I picked the same time slot to move in. Would that be an issue or is that fine?
Super fine.
Okay, one more question.
Go ahead.
Throughout the rest of the year, to pick up packages, would we be picking it up in our dorm hall or would we have to pick up somewhere else?
You'll pick up in the central package room. What will happen is you'll receive a notification that you have a package in the mail room. So don't go based off of Amazon telling you the package has arrived. All of the packages that come to American University campus go to a distribution center first, and then they're brought to American University and then sorted and placed in lockers. So once you get an email notification saying, hey, you have a package, come pick it up, you'll go to the mail room that's on campus and lower level Let's pick up your package, and then you'll be on your way. I have to talk really fast in case I freeze again. So
Okay. And if my package has a different name, or like when I receive packages, I usually shorten my last name, would I still be able to get notifications that it's a package for me?
yeah, so that's actually a really, really good question. So the mail room, our package center will only log and receive packages for names that are in our database. So if you, for example, students who are fashion designers or students who go by a different alias and use that for a business, for example, if my name is Sean, but I use John Smith, none of my business items will arrive here because it's not in the database. So you would have to use the full name that you've provided to us in the system. That's a great question.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. So questions are slowing down. People are hopping off the webinar. As a reminder, this is recorded. We'll be posting the recording in the coming days to the website. We'll be sending it out to all of our first year students to for those who weren't able to join us this evening or who just want to recap anything we said here. But I know we are all very happy to have had this conversation with you all tonight, connected over the chat and over the webinar. Again, if you have questions, feel free to email us at housing@american.edu. We're available to answer your questions between now and move-in, and we're excited to welcome you to campus in August. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.